And welcome to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I am Beth Cooper.
And I am Stacey Earlywine, and we have got probably the best show we've ever done today.
Oh, we have such a fun one.
I don't even know how we're going to
excited.
get through it.
I know. It's going to be a blast, you guys. We're going to have so much fun. Are we going to tell them what we're talking about?
You know what? Let's just let it be a surprise.
Okay, we're going to wait.
Let's just let it be a surprise.
And
let's talk about how summer just got here.
Oh, well, it got here and then it left. Like, it's already almost over. Like, the whole summer is just flying by.
Well, why? Okay, why is that after July 4th,
it's all downhill?
Why?
Because I don't know
they
why.
put Christmas out,
and it makes me happy,
and it makes you happy. And she's always putting okay. Well, I got to tell you guys something. So Beth will put some sort of a Christmas thing in July on there, and Jim was like, "Why is she your friend?"
On Facebook, yeah.
On Facebook.
I feel like I should. It's my Facebook page. I can decorate it however I like, and if I choose to post a lot of pictures of Christmas trees in July, then you just gotta go with it, Jim.
Yeah, but I thought it got hot, and finally, I didn't have too much trouble with the Japanese beetles, but all of a sudden they showed up, so I 7-dust them. They only bother like 2 sets of mine. I have like 4 rose bushes. They only bother like 2 of them.
Yeah, they're terrorizing one of my rose bushes right now.
It's weird. They're eating my impatiens.
They also like my azaleas, but they only go to my azaleas if I spray the rose bush, and they're kicked off of that.
They are the weirdest creatures.
And right now, I bought one of those fancy 7 bottles at Walmart that has you put a battery in the handle, and it just it sprays a liquid 7 all over, and you just walk around like you're a professional little bug killer.
Well, there you go.
And I paid I want to say I bought it last year. I think I paid $20 for this.
Right.
It sat in the garage all winter. I used it once this year and it worked fine, and now I can't get it to work at all.
Huh.
So I have probably a gallon of 7. But I can't get it out of the bottle. So if anyone knows how to fix one of those bottles, give me a call, please.
Well, I just got irritated and had some 7-dust, and I hate that because then you're just like,
I know. I feel like you're breathing it in. Well, that's why I like the liquid.
I think I would rather like the liquid. But yeah, those little burgers, they're just horrible. They are creatures from hell.
I'm ready for them to go.
Yeah,
and the mosquitoes.
The mosquitoes haven't been too bad, but what I'm waiting for with the fair, we're knocking on the fair week. Horseflies will be coming in.
Yeah.
So it'll be one of those things like when you're. And what is it about horseflies? It's like they don't bother me unless you're in a pool and your body is wet. And for some reason I
think they try to get a drink. I do. I think they
That's
stop
gotta
for a
be
drink
it.
and then they're like.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't. If I get bit by one of those, I get a great big well. It
not a fan.
Up. Yeah,
not a fan. They're mean
either.
Yeah, and they hurt when they bite you. You know it. That's so weird, though.
Yes,
but anyway,
I
don't mind. I mean, I like July, but I'm to the point. But my flowers all still look amazing.
Okay,
my flowers look fantastic, better than they ever have.
I've lost 2.
Have you?
I think because of the heat and because of the fact that I broke my foot last month, and my water spigot to water those particular baskets is down low, so I have to take a step, which I couldn't do. So then my kids were in charge of watering my flowers. You know where this is going. Flowers are dead.
Yeah. Mine all look really
good. So those 2 are going to get pitched.
I don't think it's been a real super hot year this year. Usually, I don't think everybody keeps talking about, oh, it's so hot. It's like, actually, it's not. It's been hotter in the past because there's been times I've been absolutely miserable.
I think when I was a kid, don't you think that the summers a long time ago were a lot hotter than they are now?
I think so.
And the winters were colder.
I think so.
The winters
it's kind
were
of
colder.
weird.
We had lots of snow in the winter when I was a kid, multiple snowfalls, and a lot of them were deep. And then the summers were 90s, 100s.
Can't even breathe.
Super hot, can't breathe. And plus, I was an 80s kid. So we were outside a lot. And it was just hot. And nowadays, I'm I feel like we're more moderate. There's, it's not as cold in the winter. It's not as hot in the summer.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird, it just kind of evening out. But I remember back when I was younger, even going outside at night was take your breath away. And it's not actually, nights are pretty, they're pretty decent.
Oh yeah, I've been sitting out on my front porch some in the evening now. I really wish I would have been sitting on my front porch last night.
Wow.
Because something really spectacular happened on my street. So just to tell you guys, I live right smack dab in the middle of town. I mean, kind of on the northern side, but I am in a neighborhood where there are houses all around. And my neighbor has a camera that picks up what's going on in the street, and from her camera you can kind of see a little bit of my yard, which I'm fine with. And she sent me a clip last night about 8:30 from what happened on our street. And a lot of evenings I'm sitting on my front porch at that time. But last night I was not. And you just see this great big deer, a full-grown doe, run from the east side of my street down to the west, like just
down 8th Street.
I'm not on Main Street, but just it's 7th. And just whoop, 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 just as fast as it could, right down the middle of the street. Right down the middle of the street, right in the middle of town. And it was running.
Because I'm thinking, where would he even come from?
I don't know where he came from.
He'd have to go across the highway.
He was headed towards Worthy Street. Hopefully no one took him out on Worthy Street. But he just was just flying right through town.
And you're telling me he actually came from the east?
Yeah, he
traveling
did.
west.
Right from the middle of town. Where had he been? Where was he going? Or she. I think it was a she. We don't know. But, man, I'm like, of all times for me not to be sitting on my porch in the evening, that would have been a really fun one. I'd been like,
well, you would have thought Santa was coming.
Like,
you'd have thought Santa's sleigh was in town.
Oh, I know. I'd be like, Santa.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
Yes, that was crazy.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm glad we have it on video.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that, it's been a nice summer so far. I don't know.
Yes, it has.
But but I'm not going to lie, even though my flowers look great, at this point now we start getting toward the end of July. It's like, okay, I really love October. I love October, and we've got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We got a lot of stuff planned at the theater in October.
Yes. And I'm ready for mums.
Oh, me too.
I'm ready to throw away my hanging baskets and redo my porch with mums.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that.
Yeah, that's, what'll happen, it'll probably get like busting hot in September.
Yes.
Sometimes September's not our friend.
No, actually, I think September the last few years have been hotter than August.
I think so, too. It's kind of weird. Okay.
What do we got today? Tell us about what we're going to look at.
I'm not going to lie, Beth. I picked this one because I thought of Silas.
Okay.
Beth's son, Silas. How old is Silas now?
He is 11.
Because I'm going to, if I can only order these for him. But anyway, so this is that. I brought along this Alden's Spring and Summer 1960. It's actually a catalog, so it's not a magazine, but it's a catalog. We showed it to you guys before. I'll put this out here a little bit. But look how cute she is, 1960. And this is the Spring Summer catalog, okay? But I picked this because...
What do they have in boys' clothing? I bet it is not Under Armour shorts and T-shirts.
It is not. It is not. Ty, don't show them anything yet till I get there, okay? Okay. And I am on my page and go. Look at these dapper young men.
Wowzers. Look how cute they are.
I know. They're so clean cut and perfect.
My son would die if I dressed him in those red pants and that print shirt there at the top.
I love this.
Oh, my lambs.
Yeah, wash and wear slack sets. $3.99.
Oh.
The little boy up there that looks like he's singing a Bing Crosby song right under the 4 to 12.
Yeah.
Wash and wear suits, ideal for confirmation or graduation. $7.99, and you got your choice of 3 colors. Don't you just want to start singing Dankeschön, darling, Dankeschön? There we go. And could you imagine putting Silas in a pair of red pants?
No. Oh, my lands. I'm going to have to show him this.
It's the best thing ever. Smartly styled, washable, and low budget. These close low budget prices, they're really, goodness sakes.
Yeah, they're pretty
$3.99, $5.99, $5.99, $4.99.
What does it say it's made out of? Does it say polyester?
Well, corduroy.
Okay.
Popular color, wrinkle resistant, rayon.
Oh, rayon.
I don't know. Yeah, it's got to just be polyester, right? Butcher rayon, single-breasted button jackets, handsome splash pattern. Oh my gosh, I'm loving it.
That's so cute.
Hand washable.
Wouldn't it be cool if some of these fashions came back? A lot of fashions do come back, but I would love it if men started dressing more like this and dress up for things more.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's so casual.
Yeah. I think about the only person I know that is Jim. My husband loves to put a suit on, and they're crazy suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bow tie. Yeah, these little boys got bow ties on.
Yeah,
I just thought that was the greatest.
Yes, love it.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
a good
know.
one.
Yeah, Jim, he does actually we go to, We like to go to Yaya's on Sunday. It's really good. If you haven't tried it, I suggest you go. The food's really, really good.
Yeah, and that's located inside the Elks.
Inside
in
the
Flora,
Elks.
new restaurant.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. And there's a gentleman that works in there, and I think he looks forward to Jim coming every Sunday because Jim's going to come in some sort of crazy suit. Oh, yeah, he loves it. He loves the suits from the 70s. Actually, now that he's retired, he works a lot at the school. And whenever he goes to the high school, he always wears a 1970s suit. I bought Tammy Harris's father, Ray's.
Ray.
She was like, "Do you need these for costume? Would you like to, have these for costumes for the theater?" I'm like, "Costumes? Jim will wear those." And it turns out that Jim and Ray are about the exact same size. Ray's they fit Jim like a glove, and you would have thought that I had just brought him a Mercedes Benz.
Oh wow! I remember Ray, and I always thought he was really tall, but Jim's not super tall.
No, Jim's like, I think, only 5'8" or 5'9".
Well, I was pretty little when I met Ray, so maybe he just looked tall, from little.
Yeah, they were the exact. I mean, pants, everything fits to a T. Oh yeah, you'd have thought he just won the lottery.
Yeah.
When I brought all those home, so
That's cool.
Jim likes that. He likes ties, and then when he goes to the what was it? One of the kids said to him, came up to him. I think it was Jamin Cook. And he came up to him. He said, "Jim, you've got to teach me how to dress."
Oh.
Yeah. So he likes that. Then when he goes to the junior high, he wears his usual Hawaiian shirts.
Okay.
He has a mad obsession with Hawaiian shirts.
That's his junior high fit, huh?
That's his junior high fit. And then if he goes to the elementary school, I think he wears stuff that he can chase kids in.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was pretty neat. It's like you just don't see, even people going to church. Do you ever remember the days people going to church dressed up?
Yes. I have to say that I hated that at the time because back to that conversation we had last week about pantyhose. My mom and they were always wanting me to wear pantyhose, and I would have dressed. I wouldn't have thrown a fit to go to church in a dress. It was the pantyhose every time. I'm like, I don't think Jesus cares.
Jesus does not care about pantyhose.
No. Stop making me wear them.
I remember we were the family that went to church like on Easter and Christmas is how my family. But I remember, I'd be in a dress and a hat and white gloves and not pantyhose, but tights.
Tights.
Of course, I was always so dirty that my mom had to, by the time I even got out of the car, she was turning them inside out, apparently. I couldn't go outside with that. I love the dirt. It's great. But before we get into this fantastic show that we're super pumped about, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Then you're going to be happy.
At your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville, you can count on experts to have the solutions to keep you running on the road or in the field. More than just your car, the Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville carry a large inventory of Napa products for farms, heavy trucks, and just about everything that moves. Experienced associates understand your needs and are ready to help with the perfect part at a great value. That's Napa Know-How at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville. Briscoe Surplus Sales on the northeast edge of Flora is your one-stop do-it-all shop. Looking for rugged boots and footwear from great brands like Lacrosse, Rocky, and Carolina? They're there. How about top-notch small engine parts and service? Briscoe Surplus Sales has it. Whether you're wiring your switches or switching your wiring, Briscoe Surplus Sales has the solution and the know-how to help you get the job done right the first time. Briscoe Surplus Sales, your one-stop do-it-all shop.
We like technology at Flora Savings Bank. Here's what you can accomplish in our mobile banking app in less than 30 seconds. See account balances in your transactions, set up an account alert, make a transfer between accounts, get an alert text message about your transfer, pay a bill, turn your debit card off and then back on. It all happens in the palm of your hand with our free My Bank to Go app. Search My Bank to Go in the App Store or Google Play and give mobile banking a try. Flora Savings Bank, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Doors, paint, windows, electrical, plumbing, and much more. Oh yeah, give me all your guns too.
John Lucas.
What?
You better be dreaming about all the stuff we sell here at Zink Building Center.
Oh, I would. Zink Building Center in Louisville on Route 45. It's a cool place.
And welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. Today we have a really fun show planned.
It is. I just absolutely think the world of these.
Yes, we're
two
going to talk
ladies.
about two ladies that we love dearly.
It was so fun.
Yes, so we had an interview with two 97-year-old twins, Margaret Duke and Margie Yingst of Flora, and we sat down with them at Margaret's kitchen table. And we asked them about their memories of Flora back in the day. What did they love? What did they hate? What happened? What did they want to talk about? And wowzers, did we get a lot of information?
We did. You know, the thing that I loved about so when we sat down with them, it was to get ideas for future shows and to, you know, that's what. And now it's just like, let's just do a show on them.
Yeah.
And then ended up to just being, so there is no rhyme or reason to what we might say today because the interview with them was fantastic. We invited them to come on the show.
And that would have been great. We could have had one. We could have had one sitting by me, one by you. But they said no. They didn't want to be on camera.
No,
but they were willing to talk to us. So we appreciate that, and I'm sure they're watching. So thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Margie. We love you both.
It was a good time.
Yes.
But well, let's just dive in. So we go and we sit down at their table, and let's just give a little background information on them.
Okay. So first of all, they were born in March of 1926. They're 97 years old, and they are twins. They both live in Flora now. At different times, they've lived different places. Margaret lived in Sisney for years with her husband, and then Margie lived in Effingham for years with her husband. Both of their husbands are gone now, and they're both widows, and they live in Flora.
Yes, they both live in there. Margie is down there on the south end of town.
Yes.
Yes, and Margaret's right there on East North Avenue. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just kind of started talking, and we're like, what do you remember about Flora that's not here today? Like, tell me something that you remember about Flora that is no longer here. And the first thing they said was the popcorn stand.
That's what I've got on my notes first, the popcorn lady.
The popcorn lady. So,
I think we've touched on that a little bit before, back in the day when the theaters, the Florine, because they mentioned the Florine and the Orpheum. And back in the day, they didn't let the theaters actually sell popcorn or concessions because there was a German lady in town.
Yes.
And she said her last name was Lipke.
Lipke.
And
they thought she was a widow. They weren't sure.
And she actually had a popcorn stand. So during the movies and stuff, she would sit outside and that she would sell the concessions. And the city realized that this was her only source of income, so they didn't let the theaters sell any concessions.
Yeah, you couldn't buy popcorn at the theater because you could go outside and buy it from Mrs. Lipke.
Yep.
But I do think she was there even when the theaters weren't. I think she was there every day.
I think she was uptown every day.
And people could just pull up, there at the corner downtown and buy popcorn from her daily. And then every night she would walk home and take her popping cart. She had like a pull cart full of her popper and her all of her supplies, and she would she walked, she didn't drive, and she would pull that home. And she lived on Park Avenue.
Down on the south end.
Way down on the south end. So she would walk blocks and blocks through all kinds of weather.
Oh, it didn't matter what it was.
To sell popcorn.
And
popcorn apparently stand. She made enough money off of popcorn to pay her bills.
One thing that I did notice about talking to Margie and Margaret, everything happened in the south end of town.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, this help is that. My lads, you don't remember that? It's like, well, no, Margie.
Yeah.
They were so cute together.
Yeah, as we go through all of the things, the South End came up a lot. They actually grew up on the South End of Florida themselves.
Yes.
In a place called Can Alley. Now, Can Alley is still there today.
Yeah.
Nobody calls it Can Alley anymore. No. But this was kind of the little bit of a rough part of town, and it was the first 4 or 5 blocks of South Mill.
South Mill Street was known as Can Alley.
Can Alley.
So shall we just so how did was one of us asked them a question. So girls, what do you remember about prohibition?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Can Alley. That's where everybody went.
So they lived on Can Alley, and that's also where the bootleggers lived during Prohibition. And so they said in Can Alley there was a grocery store there called Boffles Grocery Store, and that she and her sisters and her brothers, there was 5 girls in the family and 2 boys, and that they would walk back and forth to this store to get groceries for their mother. And she said that everybody knew which house the bootleggers were.
Yeah.
I mean, people that wanted alcohol knew where to get it, and most of them came to Can Alley.
Yeah, and did you remember when she talked about how I said, well, if everybody knew about Can Alley being on the set and everybody's going down, I said, what were the police doing? And she said they were shady.
She said the crooked.
They were crooked.
The police were crooked too, honey. The police were crooked too, honey. And so all of the police would, they knew, but they turned a blind eye.
Yeah.
So, and then talking about Can Alley, she also mentioned Frog Island, which is still there. Some people know where that is, some don't. Frog Island is back by kind of back behind where the new Dollar General is being built, by Grit, that whole little neighborhood back there between just to the west of the old hub or the Kiwanis Center, and back there.
But the reason they called it Frog Island because apparently it was kind of swampy and wet all the time.
You could hear
and
a lot
apparently
of frogs.
all you could hear was the frogs chirping.
And then White City, which is kind of out by the industrial park, a little neighborhood out there. She said, and this is a direct quote from Margie, all of those come under the same category. Can Alley, Frog Island, White City, all under the same category. So those were kind of the parts of town where the bootleggers lived during Prohibition.
I love
and everybody
that,
knew it. So she was like, that's where they grew up. So they were familiar with it. They were poor. They were very poor.
Yeah. And they remember Polka Dot.
Yes, Polka Dot.
Yeah.
He was a man that went around and emptied out all of the outhouses.
Yeah,
in town.
And you can imagine, why do you think they called him Polka Dot? Because his outfit was always splattered with.
Oh, no kidding. That's why. Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, that's why they call. I've got actually an article that Rena Lynch Thomas wrote on the man. I've got that. I would like to do a show on him too.
Okay.
He was actually Matt Lovett played him in one of the cemetery tours.
Yeah, I remember that. We had an outhouse out there in the cemetery when we talked about his history.
Yeah, because the outhouse, Jim built the outhouse. It's in my side yard. I love it. But so it. But the reason why they called him Polka Dot is because his outfit was always splashed with.
Oh wow! And
that would not have been a clean job. Think about that.
Do you remember what Margie said about his wife? Polka Dot's wife?
No.
She said, oh, that woman, she cussed a blue streak.
Yeah.
She could cuss like nobody else. And back then, not very many women cuss. Like today, a lot of women do cuss. Back then, that if you were a woman and you cussed, you were kind of looked down upon. And then Margaret chimed in and she's like, oh, she did. She cussed and she cussed and she cussed and she cussed.
Oh my goodness.
So that's what she was known for. But
that is so funny.
I think we have a picture of Margie and Margaret when they were babies. I say babies. They were about a year old.
Yeah,
in
they're
Can Alley.
Look at them.
Look how cute.
And what's funny is that, which one's which.
Yes.
You can, with the exception of one was blonde, Margaret's blonde, Margie's got dark hair, but Margie is on your left.
Yeah.
In their faces, they look, especially Margie. She literally still looks like that.
Yep. So that's Margie Yingst on your left, and that is Margaret Duke on your right.
Yeah. And they just...
And this was taken at Can Alley on their little front porch of their little house.
Yeah, and the greatest thing about when we were there with them, because they were sitting across the table from each other, and we would mention, tell us a little bit, about this, and they would talking, and Margaret would be like, well, I don't remember that. Well, you don't remember. Well, you don't remember that, and they would just like boom, boom.
Yeah, they fed
and
off
then
of
Margaret
each other.
would be like, oh yeah, that's. They fed off each other. They are both really, really.
And I should mention their maiden name. Their maiden name was Mitchell.
Mitchell, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So another memory they had was kind of a surprise to me because I didn't realize this happened. During World War II, they would ship through German prisoners of war that we had caught on the trains, and they were moving these German prisoners out west. And I don't know if I knew there was Japanese internment camps out there, but I didn't know anything about Germany. But apparently the United States had a bunch of German POWs, and they were on trains, and they shipped them directly through Flora. And she said that she remembers all these Germans going through, and they would have these swastika flags and swastika signs, and they would hold them out the window of the train. And they would. She said they all looked just so unhappy and mad. I'm like,
they're German Nazis.
She said they were still waving those flags.
That I did find that absolutely fascinating.
Right here in Flora,
because literally I can't even fathom what that would have been like, seeing them coming through, especially with the Nazi flags, the swastikas hanging out and everything. But there's a lot of things that we study about, that we know about the depot and stuff, but I can't find any pictures or anything about that. Because once we had that interview with him, it's like, okay, let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
There's not really...
They probably didn't take pictures, and they probably didn't want those people to think they were even interested in them. You know? Like, I'm not... Like, that would probably make the prisoners happy to have their picture taken, like, oh, I'm a celebrity kind of attitude.
Right.
And instead, everyone probably did the right thing and just turned around and walked away.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, that's just a weird. That's just a weird.
But they remembered that clearly. They had a lot of details, and they talked about. They came back to that 2 or 3 times. I mean, it left an impression on them.
Right.
So
well, and they had a. They talked a little bit about Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
And their brother Robert Mitchell actually survived Pearl Harbor.
Yep, he was there. He was working in a kitchen, they said at the time. And he thought, when he heard the bombs start falling, he thought it was target practice.
Right.
Going on.
Yeah, he didn't have any idea. And because they talked a little bit about Leslie Etchison.
Yes.
Still being.
Yeah, so Leslie Etchison was the first casualty from Clay County. And he died at, I think he was the first casualty. I don't know. I might be mixing him up with the Worthy guy.
No, I don't think so. No, okay. I think Leslie Etchison is known as the first.
Yeah, I did write that down, first casualty.
Yeah, I think he's the first casualty.
Harbor.
Yeah, he's still, and from what it was, he was in one of the ships, correct? Didn't the girl say?
I don't think he was. I think we covered him at the cemetery.
I think he's still
down there.
He's still down there. But yeah, listening to them talk about the wars was crazy because it's really an interesting story about. And I don't want to get into that too much because we're going to take a commercial break here in a little bit. But when we come back, let's talk just a little bit about their weddings.
Yeah,
because it's like a lot of young couples got married because the husband was going to be, he was heading out. He was shooting off. But yeah, I thought that her brother survived. And now, did she go into any detail what happened to him after? I just remember our conversations with them were boom, 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 boom. It was just.
We kind of jumped around a little bit, so it was hard to come back to him. But one of my favorite things that they talked about was when the war ended and how everybody, the whole town of Flora, it just stopped. All of the businesses, or at least 95% of the businesses, closed.
Yeah.
The war had been declared over. I'm talking about World War II here.
Yeah.
And the businesses closed, and all of the people left their jobs and they went to church.
Yeah.
All of the churches opened. And Margie and Margaret liked to church hop a little bit, I think.
They were church hoppers. They're great.
They went to all of the different churches on the South End on a regular basis. They attended all of them.
Let's take a quick break and we'll talk about their weddings and their church hopping.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a loan for your brand new home, call Clay County State Bank. If you want to transfer money so your future will look sunny, call Clay County State Bank.
We got checking and savings and bill pay too.
An online bank, just ask our crew. For all your banking needs, we think you will agree.
Clay County State Bank is the place you need to be. Clay County State Bank.
At Clay City Banking Company, we're all on the same team, regardless of zip code. At home, work, school, or across the country, you can be part of our team with our cutting-edge mobile banking products. From your hand, you can check balances, transfer money, make deposits, and pay bills. Looking for a loan? We've got you covered with our mortgage, agriculture, commercial, and consumer loans. Join our team today. Clay City, Flora, Louisville, and Fairfield Banking Companies. We're the hometown banks, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
It's the weekend and your symptoms are worsening. The morning of a big meeting and you have a bigger sore throat. Ever experienced that urgency after picking up your sick child and your community health center has already closed? You will be able to connect to a provider at crhpc.org. Even if you have never been to CRHPC, you are welcome to utilize our services. Feel better after scheduling a video visit with CRHPC.
Tomorrow. Some fear the uncertainty it brings. Some trust the promise it holds. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, growing and innovating. So even if the plans you have for the future aren't the same as the plans that the future holds for you, you can be ready. Because we'll be ready, like we have been for over 100 years. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Talk to your mutual agent today.
Your local agent is on the square. Louisville, Clay County Farmers Mutual Insurance.
And welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. Today we're talking about the twins, Margaret Duke and Margie Yingst, and we were just talking about when the war ended.
Yes.
World War II.
Yeah, we were talking about World War II.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned that they had a brother that survived Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a sad, I think, because they were both talking about when they got married. And Margie, I just thought it was so funny. So Margie did not get married in Illinois. She got married in Morganville, Kentucky in 1946. And one of the things she said, because there were no blood tests.
Yeah, Morganfield, Kentucky. And that is also where my grandparents went to get married. A lot of people around here.
I didn't realize there were blood tests back in the day.
I asked my grandma about that. You had to have a blood test to get married, and I think it was something to do with the men that had been at war or something that they had. I don't remember if it was like TB or...
Because when Jim and I got married, it was the 80s and the AIDS epidemic, so blood tests had come back. I mean, I wonder if they were like during the war and then they ended and then they came back during the 80s AIDS. But yeah, so they went down there because like I said, they didn't have time to wait on it.
Yeah, in Kentucky you didn't have to do that, and they would take a ferry.
Yes,
over.
They took a ferry. She said she wore a blue dress. And did they get married at the Methodist Church?
She was married in a Methodist church there. And her husband's name was Floyd William Yingst.
Yes.
They got married in November of 46.
Yeah, 1946.
She was 20 years old. So the war ended. He came home and they got married. But the day that the war ended, though, they actually were working at the shoe factory, I believe she said, at the time. Yeah. And the shoe factory closed, as it did all of the businesses. And then they got to decide, all of the churches were open.
Yeah.
And they decided they picked one of their churches because they like to go to a lot of different churches. And then they said, Mom would let us pick, and we would just go to whatever church. We liked them all. And we went to the altar every Sunday.
Every Sunday?
They would go down to the altar.
I remember one of the, like I said, there was a lot of little churches in the south end of town, and they mentioned the Pentecost church. But
they went to that one.
They went to that one. They were like, oh, yeah, we went to a different church every Sunday. We went to the altar every Sunday. Very religious girls.
Yes.
But, yeah, it was so interesting. Can you imagine... Though after that horrible World War II, the day, I can't even fathom what the country was like when that war ended.
No, I can't either.
I mean, you're talking everything. And how did it just go on the airwaves? Did they blow the noon whistle? How did that come down?
I don't know.
Are they all listening to the radio?
Maybe the radio, I would guess, is how I should have asked her that, but
I didn't even think about that.
She did say that like a lot of the businesses had gold stars in the windows, like the Gold Star mothers are the mothers that, a lot of you know this, but the younger may not, that if you lost a child in the war, that you were given a gold star, and there was gold. She said there was gold stars up and down the street in different business windows. But they all went to a church. And then everyone, I guess, sang and prayed and rejoiced.
And rejoiced that the war was over.
And then she said something, too, about in the upstairs of Albert's feed store.
There was a jukebox.
There was a wooden floor, and there was a jukebox, and they would go up there to dance.
Yep. Yeah, the jukebox on the second floor of Albert's, and the kids danced.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, she did talk about when the war was over, businesses shut down and went to church, the gold stars and windows for children that were lost in the war.
So
it was
we're
crazy.
kind of jumping around a little bit because this is how our conversation with them went. It jumped around. But back to the weddings. We'll talk about Margaret's wedding because it was Margie that went to Morganfield, Kentucky to got married in the blue dress.
She married, she got married after the war was over.
Yes.
But Margaret was married in 1944.
Right.
So the war was not over yet.
Yes. And she was 18 years old. And then she married Ellsworth Duke.
Yes.
And they got married with the clothes on their back, she said.
It's like the conversation was like he came home on furlough, and they went with the clothes on their back, and they got married in the basement. In the basement of a Methodist church.
Down. Oh, really?
Yep, they got married in the basement of the Methodist church, and the janitors.
The Methodist church here?
No, in Kentucky. She got married in Kentucky too.
Oh, she did too?
Yeah, because that would have been. Yeah, she got married in Kentucky also in 1944.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. He was in the invasion of Okinawa. He was gone for 3 years.
Yeah, I have that written down. He didn't come home for 3 years.
He didn't come home for 3 years after they left. But yeah, he came home. He was on furlough. And of course, they went to Kentucky also in 1944. They got married in the basement of the Methodist church. And their witness was the janitor that was taking care of the church.
Oh.
Do you remember that conversation?
There was a lot of it, but I don't remember. I don't remember that one.
Yeah, and then I
wrote down some of that, but not all of it.
That once when they literally got married, and then as soon as they got married, he was gone for 3 years. So can you imagine? How old was she? 18.
Yeah, she was 18.
18 years old, getting married, and he leaves just literally. And I mean, I don't know if you remember, but it was like when we was talking about their weddings, neither one of them had like a real wedding. No white dresses, no nothing. These women just got married, and of course, Margaret, like she said, she just got. Of course, back then they wore dresses and stuff, but
right.
But I mean, what I remember is like talking to Margie about her wedding. The war was over, and they went because of the blood test thing and all this stuff. But when Margaret talked about her wedding, did you notice it wasn't quite as joyous? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember like she kind of got a little bit solemn there for a minute talking about.
Yeah, I can't even imagine getting married and then saying, see you in 3 years.
See you in 3 years.
Sad.
How sad, yeah.
And not knowing if he would come back, because that battle he was in, a third of the men in that battle drowned.
Yeah.
Of our soldiers, and he didn't. He survived, so he came home to her. And when they came home, they lived in the Glaspie house. They rented.
Yes.
Did you write that part down? They rented the upstairs porch of a home. That was it was hard. All of these men were coming home, and suddenly it was hard to find places to rent.
Yeah, it looks like their rent was $5 a month.
$5 a month. All they had was an upstairs porch that they slept on.
Now she said
they rented the upstairs porch, and that house stood kind of where Prairie Estates does now.
Well, okay, yes. That's what I've got. The Glaspie house that they lived in where Prairie is. But where's Prairie Estate?
It is kind of back behind, it's on, I think, North State, and it's back behind the First Christian Church, kind of.
Oh, okay. Is that where Prairie Estate? Because is there several different, or is that just the main one?
There's several different Scylla homes. They all have different names, but the Prairie Estates one is there.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, $5 a month. And then I'm not really sure. We're going to get into the entrepreneurial side of Margaret here in our next segment. But yeah, I've got. Do you remember her talking about a Gussie Hawk who died in World War II? I have that written down in my notes, but I have no idea what significance that was. Unless I think they just started talking about
some
men
of the things
from Flora who passed away.
Yeah, I think so too. But so one of the best parts of the conversation, Stacey asked her, she said, "What do you remember about the 1950s? What can you tell me about the 1950s?" And the whole mood just changed.
And we literally went from the war and their husbands and married to it's like, okay, what about the 50s? And
they were like, oh, it was so much fun. It was so carefree and happy. And honey, I wish we could go back to that time.
That's exactly what they said.
I wish everyone that if life could be now what it was then is what they said. Oh, that would be wonderful.
It would be.
They loved the 50s. They were young, married, having kids. She said they used to walk to Charlie Brown Park all the way from in town out to Charlie Brown Park to swim in the lake.
Yeah.
And Margaret said, I would swim all the way across that lake and back. So she was a good swimmer. But they also swam a lot at the reservoir south of town, which was a lot closer to their house. Because they lived in Can Alley for years, but then later at some point they also lived on South Main, Margie said.
Yeah.
But they would
they must have jumped around a little bit.
Yeah, so they would go swimming in the reservoir, which is always interesting to me. I actually have some stuff on that we're going to do another episode on because I have pictures and stuff. But there was over the years, a whole lot of Flora residents died in that reservoir.
The reservoir is down in the south end of town. If you take South Mill, where it goes South Main, and then South Main winds around and goes into Fairview. Of course, we know why Fair Park and Fairview, because that's where our original parks and stuff were at. But the reservoir was a booming place. It's kind of like the railroad tracks kind of like when the railroad tracks went over it.
Right.
And it was really deep, and it was always filled with water. And guys, if you remember, like the railroad tracks was right in town by Huck's that kind of went that ran north and south, kind of cattywampus. That's where it ended up going down by the reservoir.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And kids, but even when I was a kid in the 70s and the 80s, the reservoir was a really big deal, and I think some kids it's just not safe.
It is not safe.
It's not safe.
And part of it is still there. Part of it has been filled in.
But I also remember, like, you could actually get back there. It's like kind of grown up and stuff. But I have vague memories of the reservoir going back in there. And
there was a large dam in there, then the bridge, and the railroad used it to cool off the
coal,
steam from the coal.
The steam from the coal and stuff. They would stop right over that.
But Margie said she remembered there was a 4-year-old boy, a Neely boy was his name. Yeah, she said he thinks his mother was Lucille Cox, maybe, but he had gotten away from the parents and rode his little tricycle down there and drowned.
In the reservoir.
Yeah.
The reservoir's got some really. If there's I feel like if there's a haunted place in Clay County, it's got to be the reservoir.
Oh my gosh,
because so many people
every year.
Do we even have a count?
I don't have a specific count.
I wonder, are they covering that on the cemetery tour sometime?
We covered it a little bit one year.
Did we?
But we could never come up with a specific
Yeah,
count.
that would be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And then another sad story they told us about the little girl who died in front of McKendree School.
Yeah, I didn't know even that this had happened, but apparently there was a little girl on her way to school walking to McKendree. She accidentally drops her books in the road. She stops to bend down to pick up her books, and a big truck. There was a lot of oil boomers in town around this time. The oil was picking up, so I think the oil bump, I don't know. All this conversation ran together with another one, but the truck came by and caught her with the back wheel.
Yeah.
And she was killed probably instantly.
Yeah.
Margie saw the whole thing, saw her laying there. She remembers that the woman across the street that lived in one of those little houses right there on North Avenue across from McKendree School came out with a quilt.
And covered the little girl up with a quilt.
Covered her up with a quilt.
I think the little girl's last name was Farley.
Yeah, she was a little Farley girl.
Little Farley girl. So yeah, so our conversations was so fantastic because they went from this to emotions going down here. But my gosh, can you imagine if you've lived 97 years?
Oh yeah,
they see the best of times. They've seen the worst of times. If you think about it,
they were very somber, remembering the little boy that drowned and the little girl that got ran over.
Yeah,
and then they started talking about the oil boomers coming to town, and their mother decided, hey, this is a great opportunity to make some money. We're going to rent our house to the oil boomers.
Yep,
the people that are. But then their family was like, but wait, where will we live? If we rent out our bedrooms to them, where are we going to live? Well, they slept in the kitchen.
That's right.
They slept in the kitchen and on the porch so that the oil boomers could have their bedrooms.
Yeah.
And they could make money.
Yep, they were just renting out. So many people just slept outside.
Yeah.
They pushed their kids outside. And
I think the mosquitoes would about carry you off.
Oh,
but
gosh,
and she said it was so funny because they thought that the oil boomers talked so funny. And they said that they remembered, Margie's like, they would always say, I'll carry y'all.
Yeah.
And she's like, that meant I will drive you wherever. Like, hop in, I'll give you a lift. I'll take you somewhere. Wherever you need to go to the store, I'll drive you. But instead they'd say, I'll carry y'all.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cute.
That is neat. We need to take a quick break, Beth.
Oh, already? Oh, my gosh.
I'm telling you, yes. We'll be right back.
Do you bowl like this? That's great. Do you bowl like this? That's great too. That's because whether you're a pro or you just want to have a lot of fun, at Peggle's Silver Dollar Lanes, we have a lane for you. We have galaxy bowling, gaming for kids and adults, Joe's Pizza, a full bar, darts, pool, and fresh and clean bowling shoes. Boy, does that smell nice. So come on down to Peggle Silver Dollar Lanes in Effingham, where we have a lane for you.
My name is Robin Stanford. I own Stanford Marketing. It's a promotional products business along with an embroidery business. And we do custom hats, t-shirts, anything, you name it, we can make it. People like that we do stuff in-house and we can actually make things here and that we're not contracting the work out to other places. We never say no. We always try to find a way to do it. If anybody can do it, we can do it. We are hardworking women, that is for sure. Come to Stanford Marketing in Flora for all your custom and promotional needs.
The insurance specialists have options to tailor to your needs at CSI Insurance Brokers. Experienced insurance brokers at CSI are skilled with all types of insurance plans and policies and represent many companies, including Safeco Insurance. You'll benefit from their detailed expertise, unbeatable premiums, and commitment to customer service. CSI Insurance Brokers and Safeco Insurance Company, providing affordable rates on quality insurance since 1952.
For over 50 years, at your locally owned and operated Rural King Supply in Salem and Olney, we've helped you and your neighbors enjoy an easy country lifestyle. We carry the most thorough sporting goods department around with a huge variety of hunting and fishing gear, camping equipment, and a variety of firearms for any need. Our team is here to help you find whatever you need. Open every day, it's Rural King in Salem and Olney, your locally owned farm and home store.
And welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I'm Beth Cooper.
I am Stacey Earlywine, and we are talking about the ever so fabulous twins, Margaret Duke and Margie Yingst, talking a little bit about all the fun stuff they did.
Yes,
and
their lives are just fascinating to me, and I'm so thankful that they sat down and gave us so many fantastic memories of Flora. But we have so many more to cover.
Yeah.
So
we're going to jump right in.
We're going
dog
right
catcher.
In. The dog catcher. Everybody hated him.
Everybody hated the dog catcher.
That's a direct quote. Everybody hated him. We all hated him.
There was a dog pound in the south end of town.
Yes, of course, in the south end.
In the south. Everything happened in the south end of town.
Yeah, Margie said they tried to catch their dog once. It was a little dog, and she went and hid under the porch with it and wouldn't let go of it. And the dog catcher finally was like, fine, but you need to get it out of town because dogs in town were supposed to be tied up, and she wouldn't tie this one up because it was just a little house dog, and it kind of came and went outside.
Now was that Buster the dog? I've got Buster the dog.
Oh, maybe it was Buster.
And 15 years in my. Apparently there was the.
Yes. So then I think that dog lived to be 15, but they ended up taking it to a friend in Salem.
Yeah.
But then another friend drove over to Salem for something else later in the week or something, and saw the dog wandering around, so picked it up and brought it back to Margie and Margaret, and then they kept it inside for 15 years, and the dog catcher would leave them alone then. But they said they also made up a song because the mailman tried to kick the dog one time.
The mailman tried to kick their dog?
So they made up a song, and it was called "You're Not Going to Kick Our Dog Around."
You remember that song, Margie? Margaret, you remember that song? You're not going to kick our dog around.
We asked them if they would sing it, and they said no.
They didn't tell us no very often.
No, but they wouldn't come on camera, and they wouldn't sing their song about "You're Not Going to Kick Our Dog Around."
Well, and then let's talk about the prowler that came around that was never caught. Apparently, he cut screen doors and broke into people's houses, and they never found him.
Nope, it was called "The Summer of the Prowler."
The Summer of the Prowler. That's got to be a song.
Yeah,
that's got to be a song. But yeah,
we could write one.
Let's write one. Yeah.
Ooh, let's write a book about it.
Okay.
The Summer of the Prowler, and then it'll all be about Flora.
Let's do it.
Oh, we should. That'd be a bestseller.
But yeah, we thought that. And like I said, we just went from, and then they talked about hobos.
Yeah. Well, I asked him about hobos.
Did you ask him about hobos?
I was working on another story, and I said, "What do you remember?
That's right.
What do you remember about hobos?" And they were like, "Oh, they would come to town. They'd knock on back doors all the time, and they would get off the train and they would go to houses and knock on the back door and ask for food because they were starving men traveling down on their luck." And one of them said that this was the very first time that she had ever seen a black man.
Right.
She was young, and we lived in Flora, and at that time there were no black people in Flora, and it was the first time when one came to the back door and put out their hand and said, do you have any food? And she said that, she would fix them some bread and jelly, but she thought they had something on their skin. Like she thought they needed to wash their hands or something.
Yeah, she
was.
It
was her first time, but that's,
it's
not
completely
because it's completely innocent. She was a very young girl, and this was in probably this could have been in the 30s when that happened.
Let's show a couple pictures of that. Let's show that young picture of Margaret, how beautiful she was.
Yeah.
Can we have the young picture? Oh my gosh. Look at how beautiful
is she.
She is
that
still.
Hair.
That hair is fantastic.
People try so hard for curls like that.
Yeah.
She's just gorgeous.
Yeah, she is.
Let's go to one of the more recent pictures.
Let's see the old gals.
This is probably, 20 years ago even.
Probably, yeah.
But how cute are they standing in front of their silver Christmas tree? Mm-hmm. They're red on for the holidays.
Yeah, that's so cute.
Yeah, so that's Margaret Duke on the right and Margie Yingst on the left. Mm-hmm. And then let's show another picture of them too, Ty. There's another one. How sweet are they? Wouldn't that be neat to just have a best friend for life like that?
They really are. I'll never forget. I think you left maybe a little bit before I did, and so I took Margie home.
Oh, okay.
And Margaret walked me out as we're taking. I got her hand and we're walking out there. And the whole way home, Margie's like, Margaret's like, now, Stacey, you take care of her. You take care of her. You make sure. I'm like, I'm going to, Margaret. I'm like, now you take care of her. You go straight home. You know, you let me know, Margie, when you get there. You know, so they
watch out for each other.
They watch out for each other. But Margie and I, we did some South End creeping. She was in the car and we just drove around.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah, and she would just point out old houses and
that was a good idea.
Yeah. I'm like, Margie, you got to get home. Yeah. And so she was like, no. So we just drove a little bit.
Meanwhile, Margaret's at home thinking, she hasn't called me yet. What's she doing?
And Margie said, well, we're not going uptown. And I said, no, why? Do you want to go uptown? She's like, Lance, I got my nightgown on. Remember she was wearing
she had already changed into her gown. Yeah. So
then we went home and I met her lady that was feeding the cats. But anyway, we can't chase too many.
No, we can't because we got to keep going. She talked about the cheese factory. I did not know Flora had a cheese factory. And I asked if you went in there and bought cheese, and they were like, no, honey. They shipped it out. They made the cheese there, and then they shipped it. And it was on the South End. It was on South Main Street, right across the tracks.
Yeah, and actually that building is still there if you cross on South Main. And it's like literally right. It's like a gravel road. It's not even a road mentioned. I don't think it even has but you can see it right there. It's a blue building right now, but that's where the cheese factory was at, which I didn't know we had. They also talked about the Flora milk factory, which I knew we had a pure milk factory.
Pure milk company.
I've got a bottle from there.
Yes.
But and one of the other things they talked about the band concerts every Saturday night in Library Park.
Yes, they did talk about that. They love the band concerts, and also if you shopped in town during the week, you could do a drawing. And so you shopped at a store, you put your name in the little dish or something, and then every single week at Library Park they would have a big drawing. And they would give away stuff, and they would pull names from those.
Yeah.
So, shout out to the local businesses downtown. Maybe we need to bring that back.
I was going to say, I was thinking that
people
too.
to shop downtown. Let's maybe have some giveaways.
We're trying. That would be a great idea because Lisa Ehrbacher's bringing back once a year. She brings, and the Methodists do the big hot dogs and stuff. I think that's a great idea. So everybody. You shop downtown.
The weekends were just full of people.
Saturdays.
The shoe factory. They both worked at the shoe factory.
Yeah.
They said that is what kept Flora alive during the Depression.
Yep.
And
then they mentioned the sewing factory. The Four Sisters, the Sexton Sewing Factory.
Yeah, they mentioned that. I don't think that they worked
I don't feel like they did.
They also talked about Keeney's Furniture Factory, which was here in town. And Margaret's son, Pat, and his family actually lived in the Keeney house that was built in 1939, and that house is not one we have covered, but that's on the corner of Mill and 3rd.
Mill and 3rd, yeah.
And
still
but anyway,
there?
the Keeney, yes, it's still there. The Keeney Furniture Factory, it was east of town.
Yeah, I had never heard that we had that before. But I remember my Aunt May Hemphill was an older sister to Margie and Margaret. So I've always known the ladies since I was a little girl. And the thing that they had a sister named Bonnie Wilt. And I remember the Wilt's clothing store that they had started.
Yes.
It actually started, my Aunt May her and my Uncle Harry Hemphill lived on Lincoln Street. Lincoln Street is broke up between the high school. It's literally on the east side of the high school. There are 2 brick houses on the south side of the road. My grandpa Harry and Iris lived in one house, and then little Harry and Aunt May lived next door.
Okay.
And that's where they started Wilt's store.
Okay.
And then they ended up going to Olney, and it was Bonnie, May, and Margaret. Margie didn't get in on this adventure.
No.
But it was Bonnie Wilt, and I don't know if you guys ever come across, Margie doesn't do this so much, but I don't know if it's Margaret being in the business of selling clothing, but it didn't matter. When we walked in that house, my boy, you're beautiful. You are just so beautiful. You just always look so. And I literally, it was Monday, I just got rid of my grandchildren and looked horrendous. But by the time, I felt like I was a beauty queen.
And they don't do it to be fake. They
don't.
truly love.
They
are the most loving women. They love everyone. If they compliment you, they mean it. And they are just the happiest people.
Yeah.
And just, they have been through a lot. They've all had cancer multiple times.
Deaths in the family.
They've lost children. They've lost their spouses. And
Margaret's even lost a grandson.
Yes. And they still have this joy. And this joy when they see people, their eyes light up and they are just so happy. And
they truly are
kind-hearted people.
They really are, and
loving and giving, and when I can't say enough good things.
You can't. And then when Wilt's closed down, over at Onley, then they started in it. There was a brick house there on East Drive behind me. That brick house is still there. They just kind of downsized, and they sold clothing out of there.
They kind of ended up for a while with a chain of stores, these Wilt stores that they ran.
Yeah.
And Margaret said, I just got tired of being poor.
That's exactly what she said.
She said, I one day I just got tired of being poor.
They were raised.
So she started, they were raised poor. They started these clothing stores, and they were doing really good with that. Her husband was in the oil business, and he was doing well with that. And anyway, they weren't so poor anymore.
No, that's exactly. I forgot that's what she said to us.
That was a direct quote.
Yeah, that was a direct quote. She just got, she just got tired of.
We're running out of time, but one quick thing I just wanted to say about him is that her mother, during the Depression, did a trade with people, and her mother would wash clothes for people on a washboard and do a trade out with someone else who made their dresses out of feed sacks.
Oh, yeah, the feed sacks was quite interesting.
And I said, she washed them on a washboard, and she said washboard.
Yeah,
so
that was funny.
Corrected on that. It is a washboard.
It is a washboard, yeah. But I've just never seen two ladies that are just
I love them.
They love Jesus.
They do.
They have a strong faith. They have both been through, like Beth said, deaths and illnesses and deaths like, no mother should bury a child or a grandchild, and Margaret's done them,
Oh, yeah.
And and they're just happy, and they love each other, and they love the Lord, and they love life.
We have one more picture, Ty. Let's throw that up there real quick at the end. And instead of Stacey looking up a rule to live by today to end this show,
you and I are thinking the same thing. I want to
throw one out there, and I want to say the rule to live by, and we'll see if it's the same as what you're thinking, is be like
Margie and Margaret. Yes! Oh my gosh, Beth.
Oh, thank you, Ty.
This is just such a God thing, because I didn't pick a rules to live by today. And literally 10 seconds ago, I'm like, shoot, the rules to live by today is be like Margie and Margaret.
I had no idea that you were going to say that. But
did you just get chills?
I did, because it doesn't surprise me, because Stacey and I are always on the same wavelength. And so,
fantastic. Be happy, be kind, be like Margie.
Love each other.
We need a bumper sticker. Be like Margie and Margaret.
Yes, we should.
What a great show.
Anyway, a big thank you, though, to Margaret Duke and Margie Yingst for allowing us to interview them and for giving us such great information. We love you, girls.
We love you, love you, love you. God bless you.
We'll see you all next time. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.